So FAR is an Australian-listed oil exploration company, and we've had tremendous exploration success offshore Senegal in the last few years. In fact, we made the world's largest oil discovery for 2014 that hasn't been surpassed since. So as a company, our corporate focus is very much in Senegal and that part of West Africa. So the SNE field that we discovered in 2014 is now FAR's flagship project. What is unique about it is really about its beginnings. FAR and our joint venture partners drilled the first ever exploration wells in deep water offshore Senegal and the first oil exploration wells for 40 years. So it was a fantastic achievement for our joint venture and for the country of Senegal. So as soon as we finished our discoveries at the end of 2014, we set about designing an appraisal program to evaluate particularly the SNE field. And our plan at the time was to design a drilling program to allow us to tick off the three main boxes en route to declaring commerciality for the field. The first being having the barrels in the ground, proving that we passed the minimum threshold. The second is the deliverability of those barrels, in other words, how they flow from the field. And the third is the connectivity, how connected are those barrels across what is now 350 square kilometres of oil field footprint. And in the first two appraisal wells, we really ticked the first box of size of the field, and FAR's latest estimates is that on a 2C contingent resource basis, we have 561 million barrels in the SNE field, which is indeed world class. With respect to deliverability, we flow tested our core units, reservoir units in both SNE 2 and 3, the first two appraisal wells. And now our joint venture is establishing the connectivity across the field, and that will take us some months to make a statement about that. So before we brought our partners, Cairn Energy, who are our operators now, and ConocoPhillips into the joint venture that we had with Petrosen, the state oil company of Senegal, we had mapped the SNE prospect to be about 154 million barrels on a P50 basis. After we made the SNE discovery at the end of 2014, we released first pass contingent resource numbers, and on a 2C basis, we announced we had 330 million barrels in the field. And now, with post-appraisal, and in actual fact, the appraisal work hasn't finished in terms of the integration of the information that we've got from our appraisal program, so we are expecting this number to grow. We're sitting at 561 million barrels in the field. So amazing growth from when we first mapped the prospect to actually what we're seeing in the field now. And in fact, our field envelops a couple of the nearby prospects that we actually thought were separate prospects. So it's growing immensely, and hence the 350 kilometre footprint. So a little bit of the work we're going to be doing going forward is around integrating the well results to date, and then our joint venture is planning to drill some more appraisal wells to get more confidence, as I said, in the connectivity of those barrels across the field. So once we get past our declaration of commerciality, we'll have a really good understanding of the capex involved going forwards into a development. We already know, and our joint ventures agreed, that the minimum economic field size we need to achieve to enter a development would be about 200 million barrels, and clearly we're past that with our 2C estimates to date. Cairn, our operator, announced some economics late last year and suggested that the oil field would be viable at $40 US a barrel, and clearly the oil price has surpassed that now, which is great news for us. Most of the capex estimates that we've used to date have been based on typical capex for oil field developments from 2013 and 14, and we all know, and it's been widely publicised by Woodmac and other commentators, that the cost of developments is coming way down given where the oil price environment is at the moment. So it's looking very likely that we're looking at something that's economically viable to develop, and given that, we're planning on first oil about 2021. FAR is committed to exploring as much of our joint venture acreage as we have offshore Senegal at the moment, and you've got to remember we've got 7,500 square kilometres of exploration acreage there, and we've only drilled 2 exploration targets out of the many we have. And we have about 1 billion barrels of undrilled prospectivity in our existing acreage alone, which is fantastic. In addition to that, FAR has farmed into a neighbouring block where we see an extension of the SNE field, and we'll know more about whether we want to pursue that block later on this year when our new 3D seismic comes in. And further to that, to the south, we have hints that perhaps this shelf edge play where we've made this SNE discovery extends into Guinea-Bissau, and we'll be exploring that to look to unlock value going forward in the future. So this northwest margin of Senegal, Mauritania, Guinea-Bissau is a real strong focus area for us going forward.